How transformative will AI be? 10 economists, 10 visions of the future. Artificial intelligence has already created trillions of dollars in market value. It has turned a small group of technologists into global celebrities. Companies are spending extraordinary sums on chips, data centers, and electricity, and the public is both fascinated and alarmed. Will AI produce an explosion in human productivity? Will it eliminate large numbers of white-collar jobs? Or will it prove less economically significant than its most enthusiastic supporters expect? There is, however, one curious feature of this debate. The people who ought to be studying these questions most closely, economists, have been surprisingly quiet. A recent article in The Economist examined this puzzle. Its title was, "Meet the World's Top AI-Pilled Economists." In other words, it introduced a small group of economists who have become deeply immersed in the economic consequences of artificial intelligence. But the article also raised a more important question. How transformative will AI actually be? And why do leading economists give such different answers? How transformative will AI be? 10 economists, 10 visions of the future. 1. Why have economists been so slow to study AI? The Economist begins by pointing out how slowly the economics profession has responded to AI. When Lehman Brothers collapsed in 2008 and triggered the global financial crisis, economists reacted immediately. Bank runs, credit shortages, and financial regulation moved rapidly from specialist subjects to the center of economic research. The same thing happened during the COVID-19 pandemic. Within 2 months of the first lockdowns, almost 1/3 of the working papers published by America's National Bureau of Economic Research were connected to the pandemic in some way. Economists studied remote working, school closures, unemployment, supply chains, and emergency government spending. But more than 3 years after the launch of ChatGPT, serious economic research on artificial intelligence remains comparatively scarce. According to The Economist, even in 2024, the number of NBER papers concerned with COVID still exceeded the number concerned with AI. The world is talking about an AI revolution, yet much of the economics profession is still watching from the sidelines. The first explanation, is that AI is changing the economy in ways that are difficult to see. COVID attacked the economy from the outside. Restaurants closed, flights stopped, unemployment rose sharply. The shock was immediate, visible, and measurable. AI is different. It is changing the economy under the bonnet. Inside individual companies, it may already be reducing the time required to write reports. It may be altering customer service, programming, research, and administration. But these changes do not appear immediately in national productivity figures. Even investment in AI data centers is divided across conventional statistical categories. It appears as construction, servers, electrical equipment, and power infrastructure. There is no simple line in the national accounts labeled AI, so economists are trying to measure a transformation that is occurring inside companies before it is clearly visible in the macroeconomic data. The second explanation, is that economists are, by instinct, skeptical about new technology. History shows that technological progress raises income, but it often does so slowly. There may be a gap of several decades between the invention of a powerful technology and its full economic effect. The steam engine did not transform the economy overnight, nor did electricity. Factories had to be redesigned, workers had to be retrained, new companies and business models had to emerge. So the traditional economist asks a rather different question from the technologist. The technologist asks, how capable is the machine? The economist asks, how much of that capability will actually be converted into investment, production, wages, and consumption? 2. AI economics is moving outside the university. The more significant development identified by The Economist is that the center of AI economics is moving away from universities. It is moving towards governments, central banks, and AI companies. National statistical agencies are beginning to measure AI adoption. Central banks are asking companies how AI is affecting investment and productivity. The British government has created an AI Economics Institute, and frontier AI companies are hiring economists directly. Anton Korinek has joined Anthropic's economics research team. Ronnie Chatterji is OpenAI's chief economist. Imas has become Google DeepMind's director of AGI economics. The attraction is obvious. Inside an AI laboratory, economists can gain access to enormous quantities of real-world data. They can study how people actually use AI systems. They can observe the most advanced models before those systems are widely available. The salaries are also considerably higher than those offered by most universities, and researchers working inside the major laboratories often have direct access to policymakers. But this creates a serious problem. Can an economist employed by an AI company freely publish evidence showing that the company's product is less productive, less safe, or less socially beneficial than it claims? Tom Cunningham reportedly became frustrated by restrictions surrounding what he could publish while at OpenAI. He later moved to METR, an independent organization that evaluates advanced AI systems and the risks they may create. This is the central dilemma of corporate AI research. The best data are inside the companies, but the researchers with access to those data may not be fully independent. 3. The Economists, 10 economists. The Economist placed 10 economists on a spectrum. At one end are those who believe AI will be highly transformative. At the other are those who expect a more limited economic effect. The darkest blue category includes Erik Brynjolfsson, Anton Korinek, Chad Jones, and Tom Cunningham. Ronnie Chatterji appears just below them. Alex Imas and Luis Garicano occupy the middle. Susan Athey and Simon Johnson are more cautious, and Daron Acemoglu appears at the least transformative end of the chart. But this is not a precise ranking. The chart does not prove that Brynjolfsson is more optimistic than Korinek, nor does it mean that Acemoglu believes AI is unimportant. Even economists, given the same color, arrive at their conclusions for very different reasons. To understand the disagreement, we need to examine what each of them has actually studied. 4. Erik Brynjolfsson. AI is already changing productivity. The first economist is Erik Brynjolfsson of Stanford University. The strongest reason for placing him in the transformative camp is that he has produced some of the most influential evidence showing that AI is already raising productivity in real workplaces. Brynjolfsson and his co-authors studied 5,179 customer service employees after the introduction of a generative AI assistant. Workers using the system handled around 14% more customer inquiries per hour. Among inexperienced and lower-skilled employees, productivity increased by roughly 34%. The effect on highly experienced workers was much smaller. This matters because the AI did not simply replace the workers. It captured patterns from the company's best employees and delivered that knowledge to less experienced staff in real time. Knowledge that once required months of experience could be distributed almost immediately. AI therefore became a mechanism for transferring tacit knowledge across an organization. It shortened the learning curve. It reduced the gap between beginners and experts. Brynjolfsson is also relatively relaxed about the absence of a dramatic AI effect in national productivity statistics. He argues that general-purpose technologies require complementary investments. Companies must redesign workflows, they must reorganize management, they must improve their data and retrain their employees. Those investments can initially be expensive. The benefits appear only later. This is what Brynjolfsson calls the productivity J-curve. To him, the absence of an immediate macroeconomic boom does not prove that AI has failed. It may simply mean that organizations have not yet completed the transformation required to use it properly. Brynjolfsson's position can be summarized in one sentence. AI is already changing productivity at the level of individual workers, but the national statistics have not yet caught up. 5. Anton Korinek. Modeling an economy that no longer needs human labor. The second economist is Anton Korinek, associated with Anthropic and the University of Virginia. Korinek is not mainly interested in whether ChatGPT can help someone write a report more quickly. His question is far more radical. What happens when AI can perform almost every task that a human being can perform? In joint work with Donghyun Soo, who was Korinek's student at the time, and now serves as manager of the employment research team at the Bank of Korea, Korinek divides human work into tasks of different levels of complexity. As AI improves, it automates progressively more difficult tasks. At first, AI may complement human workers. Output rises, wages may rise as well. But as AI approaches artificial general intelligence, the result may change completely. If machines can perform nearly every economically useful human task, labor is no longer a scarce factor of production. Total output could rise dramatically, but human wages could collapse. People might lose their economic bargaining power, even as society becomes far wealthier. Korinek and Philip Trammell have also examined what happens if transformative AI automates research and development itself. Under those conditions, economic growth would no longer be constrained primarily by the number of human scientists or engineers. Growth would instead depend on new bottlenecks: computing power, electricity, capital, robotics, land, raw materials. Korinek therefore treats AI not as one more technology sector, but as a possible transition beyond the labor-centered industrial economy. In the long run, he may be the most radical economist on the entire list. His central question is not whether AI will increase productivity by 10 or 20%. It is this: what becomes of capitalism when human labor is no longer necessary for production? 6. Chad Jones. When AI automates invention, the growth rate itself may change. The third economist is Chad Jones, associated with Anthropic and Stanford University. Jones is one of the world's leading scholars of economic growth. His work distinguishes between two kinds of automation. The first is the automation of production. AI helps firms produce existing goods and services more cheaply. This raises productivity, but growth may remain constrained by tasks that cannot be automated. Human relationships, physical work, energy, regulation, land, and other scarce inputs. The second possibility is much more important. AI may automate the production of new ideas. It may help discover new drugs, design new machines, write new software, and even create more capable AI systems. If AI accelerates the process of invention, a self-reinforcing cycle may begin. Better AI produces new technology. That technology produces still better AI, and the speed of innovation itself begins to rise. Jones has sparked debate by applying an expected utility framework to AI's existential risks. In one highly stylized calibration, assuming log utility, AI-driven consumption growth of 10% a year, and a 1% annual extinction hazard, his model implies that it would be optimal to use AI for 40 years. If humanity survived, consumption would rise roughly 55-fold, while the cumulative probability of extinction would reach about 1/3. Jones stresses that these risk assumptions are illustrative, not empirical estimates, and that the result changes sharply under different assumptions about risk aversion or the magnitude of AI risk. Jones has described artificial intelligence as one of the technologies most likely to transform the modern age, but he does not assume that limitless growth is inevitable. The economy may still be held back by what he calls weak links. Even if software and research advance rapidly, physical construction, energy systems, institutions, and regulation may adjust much more slowly. Jones's position is therefore conditional. If AI merely automates existing production, its effect may be significant but limited. If it automates invention itself, it may change the underlying rate at which the economy grows. 7. Tom Cunningham. Measuring existing tasks may miss AI's real value. The fourth economist is Tom Cunningham. He previously worked at OpenAI and is now at METR. Cunningham raises an important problem with conventional productivity studies. Most studies ask a simple question: how much faster does a worker complete the same task when using AI? But once AI is introduced, people may not continue doing the same work. They may rearrange their time. They may abandon some tasks. They may begin activities that were previously too expensive or too difficult. Cunningham and Parker Whitfield distinguish between three separate effects. First, how much faster can AI help someone perform an existing task? Second, how quickly can that person perform the different tasks they choose after adopting AI? And third, how much additional value is ultimately created? This distinction matters. Suppose AI allows a consultant to write a routine report twice as quickly. That is easy to measure. But perhaps the consultant then uses the saved time to conduct a new analysis, contact more clients, or develop an entirely new service. The value of those activities will not be captured by a study that measures only the original report. The opposite problem is also possible. Workers may select unusually AI-friendly tasks, making observed productivity gains appear larger than the total economic benefit. Cunningham is therefore not an uncomplicated optimist. His point is that a single time-saving figure cannot capture the full effect of AI. AI may change not merely how quickly work is done, but which work is attempted in the first place. He also studies whether AI can undertake longer and more complex projects, including work involved in AI research itself. That is why he appears in the Transformative group. He believes the most important effect may not be a modest improvement in today's tasks. It may be the creation of tasks, products, and research processes that did not previously exist. 8. Ronnie Chatterji. The speed of adoption is itself economic evidence. The fifth economist is Ronnie Chatterji, OpenAI's chief economist. One of his best-known studies is titled How People Use ChatGPT. The research found that by July 2025, ChatGPT had reached a substantial share of the world's adult population, reaching around 10% of the global adult population and processing 18 billion messages weekly. Work-related use was important, but non-work use was even larger, growing to account for over 70% of all usage. People used the system for writing, learning, information, translation, practical advice, and everyday decisions. Crucially, the study revealed a fundamental shift in user intent. People are moving away from simply having AI do tasks like writing, and are increasingly asking AI to serve as a cognitive partner for complex decision-making and reasoning. This suggests that AI's economic value may not be captured adequately by conventional measures of workplace productivity. If AI helps an employee complete a task more quickly, economists may be able to measure the benefit through output and labor time. But what if a student learns more effectively? What if a consumer receives better information? What if an individual obtains useful guidance that would once have required a paid professional? Much of that value may never appear clearly in GDP. For Chatterji, the extraordinary speed and breadth of adoption are evidence that AI is already becoming a general-purpose technology. But there is an important limitation. Usage is not the same as productivity. A large number of users does not prove that national economic growth will accelerate sharply. The study shows what people do with ChatGPT. It does not, by itself, demonstrate its causal effect on employment, wages, or GDP. That helps explain why Chatterji is shown in a slightly lighter shade of blue. His evidence for transformation is strong on diffusion and consumer use. It is less conclusive on long-term macroeconomic growth. 9. Alex Imas. Microeconomic gains are visible, but the macroeconomic revolution is not. The sixth economist is Alex Imas, director of AGI economics at Google DeepMind. His position centers on the gap between microeconomic and macroeconomic evidence. In individual experiments, AI often improves performance. It helps with writing, customer service, coding, and analytical work. But these local productivity gains have not yet produced an obvious revolution in national output, wages, or employment. Imas has tracked the emerging evidence and reached a cautious conclusion. The small-scale productivity results are encouraging. The economy-wide effect, however, remains unproven. He has also studied the social dynamics of AI adoption. In one experiment involving parents and educational AI, demand and willingness to pay for an unrestricted AI tool increased by over 60% when parents were told that other children were already using it. Even when participants received negative information about AI, their personal demand did not fall very much. Instead, some became more supportive of banning the technology for everyone. The logic was straightforward. A parent might dislike AI, but if other children are using it, refusing to use it could leave one's own child behind. This reveals something important. AI adoption is not determined solely by objective productivity. It can also be driven by fear, competition, social pressure, and coordination. Imas's position in the middle of the chart does not indicate indifference. It reflects evidential caution. The microeconomic effects are real, but there is not yet enough evidence to declare that an economy-wide transformation has arrived. 10. Louis Garicano. Economies trade jobs, not isolated tasks. The seventh economist is Louis Garicano of the London School of Economics. Garicano has spent much of his career studying how firms organize knowledge. In a traditional organization, ordinary employees deal with routine problems. Difficult exceptions are passed upwards to experts and managers. Hierarchy exists because expert knowledge is scarce. AI challenges that structure. It can replicate expert knowledge and make it available throughout an organization. But Garicano warns against counting only the number of tasks that AI can perform. Labor markets do not normally buy and sell isolated tasks. They buy and sell jobs, and a job is a bundle of tasks. Some bundles are weak. Their component tasks can be separated easily. In those cases, AI may remove the automatable parts and reduce the human role. Other bundles are strong. The tasks depend on context, responsibility, personal relationships, and complementary judgment. Even if AI can perform part of the work, it may be difficult to remove the human being from the job as a whole. Garicano also identifies a problem for professional training. Junior lawyers, accountants, consultants, and bankers traditionally learn by performing routine work. They undertake basic research, prepare documents, and review standard cases. In return, they gain experience from senior colleagues. But if AI performs the junior work, firms may have less reason to hire and train junior employees. Current productivity may rise, yet the career ladder that produces future experts could begin to collapse. For Garicano, the economic effect of AI does not depend only on what the technology can do. It depends on whether tasks can be separated from jobs, how organizations are redesigned, and how the next generation of skilled workers will be trained. 11. Susan Athey. A more efficient technology can still reduce social welfare. The eighth economist is Susan Athey of Stanford University. Athey focuses less on the intelligence of AI systems and more on the structure of the AI market. In work with Fiona Scott Morton, she treats AI as an input that firms purchase from upstream technology providers. If AI is cheap, companies can reduce costs. Prices may fall, production may rise, but if a small number of AI suppliers control the market, they may charge high prices for access to their systems. In that case, much of the productivity gain is captured by the the AI provider. Workers may lose employment, downstream firms may pay substantial AI fees, and consumers may receive only a limited share of the benefit. A technology can therefore become more efficient, whilst society as a whole becomes less equal. In some circumstances, lower-skilled workers may be harmed twice. First, when AI substitutes for their labor, and again when monopolistic AI suppliers capture the resulting economic surplus. Athey's position near the cautious end of the chart does not mean she thinks AI lacks technical potential. She rejects the assumption that technical productivity automatically becomes broad social welfare. Her key question is not simply, how much value does AI create? It is, who captures that value? Workers, consumers, ordinary companies, or the owners of the AI platforms? 12. Simon Johnson. Higher productivity does not guarantee higher wages. The ninth economist is Simon Johnson of MIT, a 2024 Nobel laureate in economics and Britain's AI Economics Institute. Johnson, working with Daron Acemoglu, draws lessons from the Industrial Revolution. Mechanization dramatically increased output in Britain's textile industry. But for many years, the real wages of traditional weavers did not rise. Many workers were pushed into lower paid, less autonomous, and more closely supervised factory employment. Productivity increased. Prosperity was not shared automatically. Johnson argues that automation benefits workers only under particular conditions. Technology must create new tasks for human beings. Demand must grow in complementary industries, and workers must possess enough institutional and bargaining power to claim part of the productivity gain. The same logic applies to AI. AI may increase average productivity whilst reducing job security, worker autonomy, and bargaining power. It may allow companies to monitor employees more intensively. It may replace junior or routine work without creating enough new human roles. Johnson does not claim that AI will have little economic effect. He believes it may produce a very large transformation. His concern is that transformation and prosperity are not the same thing. A system can change dramatically whilst leaving many workers worse off. His cautious position therefore reflects skepticism about the distribution of AI's gains, rather than skepticism about AI's power. 13. Daron Acemoglu. The productivity effect over the next decade may be modest. The final economist is Daron Acemoglu of MIT, who also shared the 2024 Nobel Prize in Economics. He appears at the least transformative end of the Economist's chart. The clearest explanation is found in his paper, The Simple Macroeconomics of AI. Acemoglu divides the economy into many different tasks. He estimates which tasks are exposed to AI, which can realistically be automated, and how much cost could be saved. His conclusion is striking. Over the next decade, AI may increase total factor productivity in the United States by no more than roughly 0.71%. Spread over 10 years, that represents only a small annual increase. Why is the estimate so low? Because exposure is not the same as automation. A task may appear technically suitable for AI, but still be uneconomic to automate. AI systems make errors. Their output must often be checked. Companies must alter their data, software, and management systems. And many important tasks involve context, responsibility, judgment, and human interaction. The largest experimental productivity gains may also come from tasks in which the quality of an answer is relatively easy to evaluate. Real jobs are often far more complicated. Acemoglu therefore rejects the idea that the strongest results from writing or customer service experiments can simply be applied to the entire economy. But he should not be described as believing that AI is irrelevant. He accepts that AI could become far more transformative if it helps workers perform genuinely new tasks. The problem, in his view, is the direction of current investment. Companies have strong incentives to use AI to cut costs and replace labor. They have weaker incentives to develop systems that expand human expertise and create new work. For Acemoglu, the central issue is not only what AI is technically capable of doing, it is what companies choose to make AI do. 14. The real structure of the debate. We can now see that this is not simply a contest between optimists and pessimists. Brynjolfsson looks at real companies and says, AI is already increasing productivity, but organizational transformation takes time. Korinek looks further ahead and says, if AI can perform every human task, the labor-centered economy may come to an end. Chad Jones focuses on invention. If AI automates research and produces better technology, the rate of economic growth itself may change. Cunningham questions the way productivity is measured. If researchers look only at existing tasks, they may miss the new activities and products enabled by AI. Chatterji focuses on diffusion. AI is spreading unusually quickly through work, education, information, and everyday life. Imas advises caution. Microeconomic gains are visible, but an economy-wide revolution has not yet appeared in the data. Garicano studies organizations. The decisive question is not how many tasks AI can perform, but whether those tasks can be separated from complete jobs. Athey focuses on market power. AI can be productive whilst its gains are captured by a small number of dominant suppliers. Johnson looks to history. Productivity growth does not automatically produce higher wages, better work, or broadly shared prosperity. And Acemoglu calculates what present-day AI is likely to achieve over the next decade. His conclusion is that the effect will be meaningful but not revolutionary. Conclusion: the chart published by The Economist is therefore not merely a spectrum from optimism to pessimism. These economists are studying different time periods, different mechanisms, and in some cases, entirely different versions of the economy. Brynjolfsson studies today's workplace. Korinek and Jones study the possibility of an AGI economy. Garicano studies firms, professional hierarchies, and career ladders. Athey and Johnson study market power and distribution. Acemoglu studies the tasks that can realistically be automated within the next decade. So the question, how much will AI change the economy, does not have a single answer. We need to ask at least 4 separate questions. How many existing tasks will AI automate? How many new tasks, products, and industries will it create? Who will receive the productivity gains? And if AI begins inventing better AI, will the economic models we use today remain relevant? The scale of AI's economic impact will not be determined by technology alone. It will also be determined by corporate strategy, market competition, worker bargaining power, education, institutions, and government policy. Perhaps the most important question is not how powerful artificial intelligence will become. It is this: what kind of economy will we choose to build with it? That is the question these 10 economists are answering, from very different positions on the spectrum.